Elham, what do you make of the almost pathological fixation on the headscarf in the past 10, 20 years in the West? It has become a symbol, you know, in the Women's March in the United States after Donald Trump was elected, everyone wearing Muslim headscarves, you know, non-Muslims, as a way of gesturing their inclusiveness, I suppose, and their opposition to someone who they regarded as being an Islamophobic bigot. But it has come to represent some sort of female liberation, which seems wholly unhinged from the way that it is used in conservative Muslim societies.
Yes, and that's the problem, because contexts matter, and again, this tendency to take an issue and tear it from its social context. That's the way it's been done. So we're talking about a headscarf. Headscarf, you have to look at it within the context of how it has been used within Muslim majority countries, how women liberation movements in the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, were using this very symbol as a means to liberate themselves. So what does that mean? It's just like they will burn it. Okay, they will burn it. And that's not only in Egypt, that's not only in Syria, that's not only in Tunisia, no, that's even in south of Yemen. You have well-documented cases where basically women activists, in order to show we are moving away of a patriarchal conception of rights, we are basically burning this symbol. Comes political Islam. Political Islam, the founder of Muslim Brotherhood, that's the womb of political Islam. Muslim Brotherhood was founded in Egypt in 1928 by a teacher, primary school teacher, Hassan al-Banna. And he, if you look at the way he used the women, he was in fact reacting not only to the West, as everybody is insisting, not only, no, to Kemal Atatürk in Turkey. Kemal Atatürk was the leader that came after the end of the Ottoman Empire. He abolished the caliphate. He insisted on the separation of state and religion, and he too used the woman and her body as a symbol for his vision, for his project. Hassan al-Banna was against the abolition of the caliphate, was against separation of state and religion. For him, religion should be a political project. That means society should be guided and ruled and controlled by religious laws, and was against, at the same time, the liberation of women, as Kemal Atatürk was pushing for. Again, just like Bourguiba in Tunisia, Kemal Atatürk was no feminist. He just saw the woman as a tool for social change, okay? So comes Hassan al-Banna, what does he tell us? No, we have a different model, and the woman is very central to it, because she will create the new Muslim, the one that will create that Islamic state. And there is dress code for that woman. And from his perspective, it should be like this and like this. And that's why you immediately, you can tell if a person, if a woman is wearing the headscarf out of an Islamist belief, or if she's doing that because of tradition, because of religious belief, or because of economic reason, you can say, you can tell. But that political movement was again fringe until the 70s, until Sadat, Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, decided that he needs to counter his leftist competitors by depending on the Islamist movements, including the Muslim Brotherhood. And with that, if you look at the pictures, the albums of the pictures, at the end of the 70s, you will hardly see a woman with a headscarf. Mm-hmm. Today, the majority are wearing the headscarf. The majority are wearing the headscarf. And that doesn't mean that women are wearing the headscarf because they're Islamists. Please understand what I'm saying. I'm just saying that for the Islamist movement, this headscarf is central for their own project. Bring this discussion here, and you realize that this whole context is really absent from the discussion. The fact that you have women, yes, I know, half of my family is wearing headscarves, and I know that you have women who are wearing that by their own will, but you also have those who are being pushed to wear it, whether they liked it or not. You also have women who are being forced to wear it with grave consequences. And that is absent from this whole discussion. That power dimension, that patriarchal dimension, that political dimension seems to be absent from the discussion. And I'm just insisting, look at the issues in its complexity and stop turning this, because these nice, with all due respect, feminist, Western feminist women who come and they basically wear the headscarf in solidarity with Muslim women. Well, tell me, why don't you do same campaigns for those women who are forced to wear it? Just as you're wearing it in solidarity with those who are being attacked because they're wearing it, do the same for those who are being beaten to wear it, forced to wear it. And without that complexity, just basically naive essentialist.
Let's talk about supporting the Muslim communities in the West, because there is oppression, there is bias, there is prejudice against Muslim communities in Western countries. There is a justifiable desire amongst progressive people to ensure that Muslim communities feel welcome, that they're not subjected to harassment or prejudice. And yet, as you've been saying, that can sometimes bleed into a support for the most reactionary elements in the Muslim communities and a kind of misguided essentialism about those communities. And if you try to do both, if you try to take the best of both worlds and split the baby in half and say, we want to support the Muslim women, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to support what the Muslim community claims to want for itself, because maybe it's just a very loud imam who's actually quite sexist, who's telling us what the community wants. So we have to sideline the community in the interests of the 15-year-old girl who lives in that community here in Australia, who might not want to wear the headscarf, but might risk ostracization from her family if she chooses not to. How do you do that without coming across as being a bigot?
Yes, it's a very important question. And it's a very difficult question. But I will start with something that you said. Let me ask the question, who's speaking in the name of Muslim communities in their diversity? And very often you see organizations well organized, flushed in resources, and they insist that they are the sole speakers of their Muslim communities. And if you look closer, you see political dimension here, where some, and I'm not saying all, but some of these organizations, in fact, are affiliated with one form or another of Islamism, either political Islam or new fundamentalist movements. And when they make their demands, they make their Islamist demands, but they make it in the name of the whole of the communities.